Welcome to the Ultimate Agent Podcast, hosted by Jenny and Jorge Aldretti. We're going to be interviewing the top agents, real estate agents in the industry to help elevate your business. But we're going to do so much more than that. We're going to be talking to social media coaches, real estate coaches, entrepreneurs, anybody that can help you take your business and your life to the next level. Hey guys, it's Jenny Aldretti with another episode of The Ultimate Agent. I'm super excited to have Emily Dieckmann here with me today. Emily, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to meet you virtually here and hopefully in person one day.
I know. So Emily Dieckmann has her own brokerage, the Emily Dieckmann Real Estate Team. And so I'm super excited. She's going to give us a little bit of background on who she is, more about her team. But if you're a relatively new agent or you've been in the industry, what I always think is fascinating about talking to agents like Emily is what makes them tick, what makes them successful, regardless of what's happening in the market. And that's what I think you're going to get out of this podcast. And so let's go ahead and get started. So Emily, first tell me just a little bit about your background. Where'd you grow up? What brought you to real estate? Just tell us more about who you are.
Well, I'm a Southern belle, you see, and my accent doesn't come out unless I'm really angry or maybe I had one too many glasses of wine. So I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, moved all over the place because my dad was in the VA system, the Veterans Administration Hospital. So I've been fortunate to move around. Now I live in Austin, Texas, on the north side of Lake Travis. My husband and I work together. We have 3 boys. They are 15, 13, and 11. I think that's where they are right now. So we lead a very busy life just running with them, but then we are entrepreneurs, both Carl and I are, and he's finishing up his time in the military. So that's where we met, and I retired from there, and it's just kind of exciting, all the things that we have going on.
So you said you're both in the military. Tell us more about that. When did you join the military? What branch? What made you join it?
This was when I was 17 years old, and we lived in Ohio. My father was an Army dentist at the time, a reservist. He had been in the Navy and active duty at times, but I'm going through high school and don't really know what I want to do, like most high schoolers don't. Maybe they have a little bit of an idea. I was thinking maybe medical or something like that, but never really pulled the trigger on anything. And I remember I was 17 and you had to be 17 to join. Dad says, Emily, you're like a leaf. You're going to go wherever the wind blows you. And so he says, I've got something for us. At dinner, we're going to have a guest. So in our Ohio home, when we sat down for dinner, here comes this man who used to be a drill sergeant, who's now a recruiter for the Army. This big man, super burly. I was a little bit nervous because I'm little old Emily here. We just had a conversation about what the Army looks like, what opportunities are out there. And thank God my dad was already in a part-time situation with the military. And so I signed up to go into the Army reserves when I was 17 years old. So I had gone to basic training in between junior and senior year of high school. Is that what happened? I can't really remember. It's been so long ago. But I had to, going into college, I had to re-earn some basketball scholarships that I wasn't able to do with the rest of my teammates because I was over in basic training. So anyway, long story short, started in Army as a reservist, and I retired as a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force Reserves. And I've done a lot of things in between there. So it's been a very sweet experience. I met my husband, Carl. He was a flight instructor when I was going through flight school, but he wasn't my flight instructor. I need to make sure you know that was not my flight instructor.
Is that was a no-no?
Oh, yeah. Students and instructors, no, you don't get to date. In fact, we were on a date and we were coming back from San Antonio because we met in Del Rio, Texas, which is Laughlin Air Force Base. And we had gone to a weekend getaway in San Antonio when he had to drop me off at my little duplex on the base. I swear he didn't stop the car. He opened up the door and pushed me out because we didn't want to get in trouble. I was so close to graduating. And so yeah,
the Top Gun movie, sort of.
We're into like the old Top Gun when you've got that 80s nostalgia with the shears blowing through the wind. No.
I love it. That's hilarious.
Yeah, we had a good time. So I'm retired. Carl is still in doing reserve duty. He works on our team. He's the head of the commercial and investment division. So it's really fun how we met in Texas. We did a full circle and came back here. And now we've always worked together, whether it's in the military or here in real estate. And it's just a lot of fun.
So wait, can you fly a plane?
I flew a C-130 for 10 years. And I learned that in college. So I was able to go to college and do military duty. I haven't flown in a really long time. I have a hangar home for sale, actually 2 of them up on the airport in Lago Vista. So when I go up there, it's so fun and I'm starting to get the itch again. But for a long time when the children were little, I wasn't able to spend my time that way. But yeah, Carl flew A-10s and I flew C-130s.
Wow. Does that not terrify you?
I like metal around me. You know, I don't think I'd like to jump out of a plane, and heights actually scare me. But when I'm enclosed in metal and I'm just so laser focused on those instruments or the task at hand, you know, some of that stuff goes away.
That is fascinating. Well, I think if you can fly a plane, you probably can do real estate.
I don't know. The plane doesn't talk back and get real emotional on things, you know? That's something we see with buyers and sellers a lot.
That's a good call. So you came back to Austin, and then how did you make the transition to real estate?
I think my first love is architecture and interior design and just homes in general. What a naive, immature way to think about real estate, because really it's more about connections and finding the loopholes and able to make things happen. That's really what real estate agents are in a nutshell, are problem solvers and makers of things, make things happen. So just because you like homes, that doesn't mean, like right now, I rarely go in homes. I run a team now, and it makes me so happy to watch my team members go out and do these great things. But when you get into real estate because you love looking at homes or going on home tours, I felt like I quickly found out that that's really not what it's all about. Learning all the ins and outs of the contracts and keeping my clients so safe from litigation and treating them with love and kid gloves when they're going through a hugely emotional time. So it's a lot of managing expectations and managing contracts. And then, oh, by the way, sometimes you get to see a fun home, you know?
Absolutely. And really, a lot of the time, too, is making sure you're bringing in those clients, because otherwise you don't get to see any fun homes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. If you only do land and that's what you like, you know, you've got to bring the clients in to go walk some properties. Or if you want to do luxury, you've got to focus on that region. Yeah.
That. Okay. So when did you join real estate? How long have you been doing it for?
So I was actually licensed in Nevada. We moved to Austin from Las Vegas, Nevada, and I was licensed there, but I had a really rough second pregnancy with my middle boy and had a lot of recovery after that. So I wasn't able to practice. So when we moved to Texas, I was healthy and got into it. So what we did when we moved, we both were part-time military, and Carl took a job with the Pentagon, something easy that you can do with the military. Well, fairly easy. And he could work from home. So that was like, I don't know, 8 years ago, whatever that is, 2012. And so he took the paying job. We moved to a very small home so we could have a very low mortgage. And Emily's going to try real estate, right? The first year, I think I made $5,000. And then the second year was a lot more. And now, we're bringing home over $1 million. Not Emily and Carl personally, but our business is a multi-million-dollar business here. And I get to distribute that with my team, and it's just phenomenal. So that's kind of how I got started in real estate. Unfortunately, Nevada doesn't have reciprocity with Texas. So even though I licensed as a broker out there in Nevada, I had to come to Texas, redo all that stuff, work as an agent for 5 years. And the minute I could get my broker's license, I tested for that, and now I'm a broker.
So you have to be an agent here for 5 years before you can become a broker.
I believe it's 5 years. It could be 4, and you have to have so many transactions under your belt. But in Nevada, when you take a real estate exam, you could exam for an agent or a broker. And why wouldn't anyone just go for a broker? Well,
right,
because it's more expensive. It's a lot more studying, a lot more questions.
First of all, I love the way you think. When you're deciding to go into real estate, you are purposeful in making sure that your bill's potentially coming. Because I don't think a lot of people get into real estate realizing it's expensive to get into real estate. It's not cheap. Like loan officers, it is not expensive to get in to become a loan officer. It's really inexpensive. We don't have all the fees. The test is way easier. And I can't even believe the continuing education y'all have to do. And so I love that you planned for that ahead of time, because I think a lot of people get into it not realizing everything that might be coming for them, right? And so you have to know what's coming. So you said the first year you made $5,000, and I think a lot of people would be like, well, maybe this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing, or all of the thoughts, regardless of who you are. Right now, we're reading Ninja Selling. We're actually just starting it in our book study. And it talks about your vibe, if you will, and how to be positive, negative, all the things. And so how did you make sure that you didn't go all the way negative and say, this just isn't meant to be in Texas? What made you transition out of that 5,000 and to grow? Like if you're talking to a newer agent, what would you say were even one thing, two things that you were like, this is what made the difference from going from $5,000 to allow me to grow the next year and the next and the next?
Well, unfortunately to Carl, I can be a stubborn person when it comes to goals and goal setting. And if I see something that needs to be done or something that I set my mind to, I don't take very well if you say no. So for example, when I was trying to become a pilot in the military, they're like, oh, well, you're not a man. What? Because this was a long time ago. I was only 21 when I got hired to be a pilot. But then they're like, oh, well, you need to have all of your college completed and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, well, I'm on the pathway, but why I can get it done now? Let me find some workarounds. And so I think the stubbornness helps and is amazing for my clients, because if someone tells me no, I'm like, I'm just going to make sure about this, let me just make sure. So the same thing with this. Who am I to say the first year is the end all be all? Maybe to think she worked her butt off and then she only came home with a measly $5,000, but you got to see all the foundation that I was laying that entire year. So it's not for nothing. I mean, it's going to grow exponentially. I knew that just in my heart because I knew how hard I was working. And although I didn't get benefit right away, do you know what? 8 years later, I'm seeing people come out of the woodwork saying, remember when you just got started, we weren't ready to move then, but we are now. And had I not gone through that, I would not be able to reap that enjoyment. So
Absolutely.
I think stubbornness and then just giving it a fair shake. 2 years is not long enough. I think you need to dedicate for at least 3 to 5 years, because what happens in real estate is you come up on that second year of having to renew and get all that heavy CE. I mean, when you have to get that continuing education at that 2-year mark, it's tons of hours. It's like a college class. And a lot of people are turned away. I've got to pay this much money and go through this much education, and I've only sold one measly home. Or you're at 2 years at this point, maybe 2 or 3. Like, give yourself a fair shake. And I think we see a lot of media out there, all the glossy agents showing these beautiful homes, or I help these amount of families and I've sold this amount of real estate. Yeah, but what's going on behind the scenes? If you see me at home relaxing, my feet are up on the couch, I look like a mess, but I'm still working behind my computer. Like, to get to this point, there are no days off right now. There will be, that's on the goal sheet. But right now, to develop something and be a force in the real estate industry, it's a sacrifice. And you've got to take it longer than a year.
I love that. I love that. So now that you've started your team, tell us a little bit about what does your team look like? You're obviously a very intentional person. So if I'm walking in, what would I see? What would I feel? Tell me more about the Emily Dieckmann real estate team.
Well, if you walked into our office, you would see a fabulous new renovation that we just got into recently. And I hope you're welcomed with smiles and hearts and a feeling presence in the room of just welcoming and fulfillment. So that's what we want. And I see it in every one of the teammates that work with me. They have it in their heart and they want to spread their innate joy to others and their professionalism and their knowledge. So they're not only great people, but everyone on my team is licensed. Even my sweet Vicky, who goes and delivers the lock boxes and does our home books and schedule photography, to my assistant who hasn't turned a deal at all. I want to make sure that they know what's going on because they're so integral to our team function. So if you were to come in, you would see a culture that is superbly loving with each other, very loyal, and understands the value and the strength of a team. And that's what they try to protect. So I'm super lucky.
And I know you have a lot of goals for 2023 and beyond, obviously, for your team. We've talked off the podcast about how you are committed to not necessarily growing this huge, it's not about numbers for you. It's about truly not only the quality of the human being, but the quality of your team. You want to grow your team. You want the best for each individual on your team, which will then obviously spill into each client gets the best service as well. So what are some things that you're providing your team members? Maybe dive into what does the week look like? What are some value adds that you're providing for your team that you feel like are really unique to your brokerage, which I know can be hard because sometimes maybe you feel like they're not unique, but what do you feel like is special, about being on your brokerage? What are some actual actionable items that you're doing every single week with your team?
So we came from a Keller Williams background, who I adore. And there's reasons I'm not with Keller Williams anymore, but still I send so many people there. It's because we're geographically dislocated. And it took a lot for me to go there and teach 2 or 3 times a week. My franchise fees, I'm not grandfathered in. So that looks a little bit differently. That's a whole nother podcast we could talk about. But what time and money I was spending traveling 30 minutes to my market center and the money can now be put in our local community, which is a huge aspect for what makes an agent be successful, but then also the time I can put with my people here and train them instead of, the masses. And it's kind of a unique situation. So I've learned what my connection was with KW and splits and things like that. And I've had coaching from some of the best coaches in KW that helped me review my profit and loss statement and what our typical red book says to pay us splits. And we do more than that on our team. And the reason we do more than that is because when I started my team, I hired people that were so integral, that were so genuine, and they helped me build to where we are so that when they became agents, because they were not agents at the time, they were doing background assistant, contract to close. I had always told them that if ever you want to do this or when you want to do this, we're going to do it. And so I've always paid them more than what I think other brokerages allow. I feed them leads. I don't pay for leads. We have a culture like we're going next week to Cancun. So we enjoy having time with each other. We do a lot of things out of the office, but we also do family things together. And I think we are like a family. I love to see them grow. I want to give, always just give. And it makes me so happy to see what they can do with their families and their homes that they might not otherwise be able to do. So
a holistic approach. You help them not only build their business, like behind the scenes, literally profit and loss, how to bring in clients, you're helping them build that, but also building a team and kind of becoming a family too.
Yeah. And finding out what their passions are so that they can go out and do that in the community. And then now they're out there giving like they want to do, but just helping facilitate that avenue. And then that begets referrals, and success in real estate. And being a giver is what's going to ultimately lead you to receive.
100%. There was something that you said that was genius that I hope a lot of y'all heard, where she said, it was very small and we kind of glossed over it, but there was something about the commission split. I'm not sure the exact words, but where she could take that money and she could then invest that into the community that she lived. And I think that's really important because when you invest back into your community and you're giving back, like you said, that comes back to you. You're becoming a community leader. And that not only helps your community, obviously, but it's going to help your business too. I hope that you guys are listening to that and really thinking about how you can become an important part of your community. And maybe you don't have the money right now, but you can invest time.
Absolutely time. I mean, even an encouraging note to someone. It's as simple as that. Tagging other businesses on Facebook, showing that you're a supporter. This is what it's about.
100%, 100%. How did you make your first hire?
So it was a contract to close coordinator, which is not the correct method that you're supposed to go through if you're following Gary Keller's book. However, I would say that if you're looking to grow or starting a team, kind of do a little brainstorming, soul searching, bouncing stuff off other people about where you think you want to go so that when talent walks by, your radar's up and you can grab them. And that's kind of what happened. Like I was a new agent. I didn't know anything about compliance documents. When I had to get stuff in to Keller Williams and give the right information to the lender, I didn't really know a lot about a lot of these things. And I worked in an office where I just bought some desk space and there were other agents around, but also there was a contract to close coordinator in there who worked for the main person. They didn't work for me at all. She says, hey, I can help you with some things if you want to. And so that was really cool because she kind of walked me through things just like a friend level, right? Well, she was homeschooling her child and it didn't work out for her to be in the office all the time. The person she was working for really needed her in person and it was very hard for them to work from home with each other. But I said, gosh, I don't know any other way. Maybe I'll just start paying you and you can kind of help me out. I did 3 or 4 transactions at the time. It was really nothing. It wasn't even worth her while, But I felt like it gave her a little something. We had made a connection. I felt like it gave her a little something that she could focus on her family and then teach me while I paid her to get me through a transaction. And then that just kind of grew and grew. And so I was doing everything on my own except the transactions to close. And then I felt at the next hire, I hired way too late because I was drowning in all of the marketing and the things that I wanted to do. And I knew I needed help, but I didn't know until later. And so my second hire was an assistant. And both of those girls are now agents, which is awesome.
Isn't that true? We always wait till we're drowning.
I'm trying now not to do that.
I know. Cool. I know. The best thing that we can, I think, do is realize that when you're hiring someone, it truly is an investment in your business. It's going to allow you to grow exponentially because now you're removing something off your plate so you can go do what you do best.
But you have to do it intentionally. I think that's the word of the day for this podcast. Everything can be intentional. You have to spend time thinking about it. And as busy as we get, we need to set aside some time in the week. And that's just our thinking time where we are taking a walk or driving quietly in our car, but it's intentional to think so that we know what's happening. So for example, where we are in our team right now, we have the largest firm on the north side of Lake Travis. That's Jonestown, Lago Vista, and Point Venture. And we do about 160 transactions a year just in this little zip code, which is crazy because like Lago Vista only has 10,000 people that live here. So it's crazy how much we're turning. And we're growing so much. We just got settled in our renovated office, which is fantastic. And we're working on our systems this year so that we can then do more for our people than what we're doing right now, but just within what we have available at our fingertips. But what does that look like in 2 years when what's projected is going to already build out and all the people are coming this way because the hill country is beautiful and so is Lake Travis. And so right now I'm trying to be super intentional about what does it look like where we're going to go. I can never know exactly how it's going to be, but what I can do is just kind of set up expectations. So if I see that talent walk by, I'm ready to grab it, right?
Absolutely. It's something as simple as what are your strengths and your weaknesses, truly knowing those and what makes you money. And so that when that talent walks by, knowing, okay, that's a weakness I have. Let me grab that because that weaknesses is taking me away from what's making me money. Something as simple as just being aware of that, right?
Absolutely.
How did you make your first sale?
Well, I actually had to sleep with the buyer, which was my husband. And that's the beautiful thing about working with other entrepreneurs or like your husband as a businessman. So we've done real estate in the past, we've bought and purchased as investors and everything. So he was wanting to invest in something. So that was a super easy kill. Okay. So that was real, something very small, but so the for real one, and when I said that to my mom one time at a family gathering, I had to sleep with my buyer to get him to do something. She didn't realize I was talking about Carl. Come on, Mom, right?
If you know me, Mom,
Yeah,
really.
Come on, yeah. Okay, so
Carl is totally cool with it. He encourages it every time.
that's right. Every time, yeah. Carl wants this to happen. So actually my first sale was this sweet little lot that was worth probably less than $10,000. We used to have a ton of them on the market out here before, COVID and all that. And I had been given that because it was such a small junk lot from the lady who I rented space from. So she's an agent. She just doesn't have a whole lot of time to deal with this one. Emily, go cut your teeth on this. The sellers they live out of town. They don't even know what asset they hold. And it's probably not anything special. Oh my God. I held this little thing. I loved it. I walked the property. I shot videos. I told all about the area. And when someone wanted to walk it, I'm dressed to the nines because that's how I went into the office. And I'm out there in my dress walking it with them, like anything I can do. Hey, builder, would you walk this with me so I can video, like, what can we do on this property? So I sold it for over asking price. And then I made a big accident. When the lady gave it to me, she says, how about a 25% referral, which is kind of typical in our industry, 20, 25, 30. So I said, okay, yeah, that's great. Didn't really know what that means. I didn't know anything. So what I thought she was saying is charge the sellers 25% commission. And I did it. And they paid it on that little lot. So isn't that crazy to think about? A mistake like that, but I did a great job and we sold it for over. So they netted the same as if we were to sell it for list. The painter would say a happy accident, a happy little accident. Love Bob Ross. So that was my first one. And, people starting out, I feel like there's certain generations who are like, oh, you're just going to give me that little thing. No, this is your springboard for greatness. And maybe you have to do a lot of little things along the way, right? To get to where you want to be. And I still do little things today. There's nothing that a person comes to me that I just kind of dismiss and throw away. No way. Everything is important. And because it's important to the owner, the seller, the buyer, so nothing's too small.
Absolutely. And you never know if that piece of land, what else that person owns or what they will own. You just don't know what it's going to turn into. And I think that shows a lot about you, the creativity you used with that one piece of land, having builders come out, asking them what they would do with it, walking the property for video. That was back when video wasn't nearly as big of a deal as it is now. So back then, that was really forward thinking. You know what I mean? So I think that shows a lot about you. So I can only imagine where you take that now.
So anything I see marketing wise, if I'm not doing it, I employ, honestly.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm like, we'll try everything. What consumes your thoughts on a daily basis?
So our community is super duper small, and I have been given so much, such an incredible life, healthy children, a marriage that has been together for over 20 years. And it's not without work that any of this stuff has come along for sure. But how do I contribute back and give and change lives? And I can see that in my own little special team. But now what we're doing out in the community, oh my gosh, it's just so special. And any hardship that any of us goes through can always be turned to goodness and to then kind of know what someone else might be going through in a certain situation. So I think that in our community, as we grow, we have some amazing people out here. And unfortunately, in the days of social media, if you were just to read on our Facebook page from Lago Vista, you would think, oh my gosh, what about this place? Why are these people this way? And, that's your keyboard ninjas and warriors that are behind the screen. But we have some phenomenal people out here. Some people that are connected with some of the largest businesses in the world live out here. Retired, amazing military people who've been to war and people they're just givers. And man, we have some amazing people. So how do I give back to these that are contributing so much to me, And it's kind of fun to see us create stuff locally in the community. Like one of our agents, Trish, who used to be my assistant, on March the 4th, we're having a big pet parade. And this is our second year to do it. But what it allows is like nonprofits to come out and benefit from that. It's something so fun for the children to do. Our Lions Club comes alongside of us and makes hot dogs, and they get to benefit from the proceeds there. And all of the money that she makes goes back to this nonprofit. Star Lockwood is her name, because she is the one who helps place animals in the community that have been lost or given up. And, that's on Trisha's heart. That's her heart. And so the next thing that we're getting ready to roll out is a young entrepreneur program. My sister's part of the team. This is her heart. She's got young children. They're very creative, and we're going to work alongside the school system, the superintendent with the school, to make opportunities happen for the young people in our community. It's pretty awesome.
I love that. And so for agents who are looking to get involved in the community, that can seem like a really overwhelming task, if you will. First of all, I think you always have to come at it from a place of contribution. People can see right through you when it's just for business. What would you say is the first step to get started in getting involved in your community?
Well, first of all, what do you love? What's your passions? Where are you going to be spending your time? So for me, when we moved here, I had 3 young boys, 2, 4, and 6 at the time. Carl, I swear to you, within the first 2 weeks of living here, he took off for a 3-month deployment to Kuwait. So he's like, you got it, Em? I'm like, I got it. And so there's signing up for baseball practice, getting them enrolled in school, finding our church, right? And so through children, that's why we have children, to use them, right? I'm just kidding. We don't live in the old ages, but you can do a lot if you have children. If you don't have children, you go to the gym. Can you connect with church? Can you do good by joining the Lions Club or adopt a highway? Anything like that is a great way to give back. Already touched on just simple words of encouragement through Facebook and Instagram and social media of your local businesses. So I actually came from a mom's group in Las Vegas. And when I moved here, I'm like, don't know anyone, not a friend in this town at all. My parents were an hour away. My sister was an hour away. So I did have them, but no sphere of influence. So we're kind of tucked away in this little community. And I'm like, gosh, I need to find some friends. I wish there was a mom's group. So I found these girls at church. Like I saw them talking to each other around over a couple of weeks, and I'm like, they look like my age. Maybe they have kids. And so I'm like, no, you don't know me. I'm brand new here. But I was wondering if we could meet up for lunch. But I told the first one, I have another couple girls in the church that I'm going to bring over. You probably already know each other. Would you like to do it sometime? And the girl's like, yeah. And of course, they're so wanting to give and integrate people into the community. And so I went to the second girl, like, hey, Angela and I are going to meet up for lunch. Would you like to do it? And a couple other girls. And so I made that group happen. And we're still friends to this day, which is fun. And it looks a little bit different. But some of them didn't have kids. Some of them had kids. And I didn't know that. I just went off of who's in the surrounding at the time. So sometimes you have to make your own thing. One easy, great way is the Chamber of Commerce. And so I became a Chamber of Commerce, just member to know who's who in the community, rub elbows with some other business owners. Turns out I got on the board. I was president for 2 years. And I think that has brought me into a leadership position in the community, which is not really what I was looking for, but there's always outlets that way for you.
Well, and then you're able to meet people within the community. And that's when you can really start to make a difference. When you know what's happening in your community and you can really learn the needs of the community, then you can really start to get involved, right?
Yeah.
When you're not sitting in a little bubble.
Right. And it doesn't have to be political at all. It's, the kids want to get together and play board games. Okay, I can have some people come over to my house and play with my children. Or the candy bar just opened up. Maybe I provide the games and then set up the time and the children come to a fun, neutral spot. And everyone gets to be included, not just my friends, my kids' friends.
I love that. I love it. I'm such an introvert. I'm like, I need to do better. Who was your greatest inspiration?
Well, it may sound cheesy to a lot of people, but Jesus has to be my greatest inspiration. And that's because he's had to do really, really hard things when he had time on this earth, and that he's so loyal and he's never stopped loving, even when he's been so hurt by his own children. And so those are huge aspects that I can apply to my own personal life, but then also in real estate, because man, some people can hurt, right? Hurt me. I have pretty thick skin just from my background and living with 4 boys in the house, but it hurts when you're doing your best, and somebody just doesn't see that. So I think learning to love through that is a big goal, to keep trying to do.
I thought you were going to say Jesus had to do some really hard work on me.
Oh, he is. There is no question there. Oh my gosh. Daily, multiple times a day. He's like, Emily.
You think you have that thick skin living with a boy? Try living with a 9-year-old girl.
Oh, you do have it harder. I am so thankful for boys.
And she's amazing. She's 19. She's my best friend. Like, she is phenomenal. But at 9 years old, I wanted to kill her. I mean, girls can slice through the soul. It's like they know just what to say. And I taught 8th grade, like high school and middle school, and I adore them. But damn, boys are like, you're dumb, and they're over it the next day, right?
Hey, girls stealing, right?
Yes. Girls are like, woo, it's a whole other world. What is your favorite aspect about being a team leader?
I think we've touched on this a little bit, just getting to see what these teammates get to do for themselves, their family, and the community. I just don't think in a small town like this, the opportunity existed to achieve this type of level staying locally. I think they would have to drive into Austin, and that can be a suck on your productivity, that time in the car if you're not using it correctly, because that's time away from what they can be doing here. So I think that's the hugest part, is just watching these people grow around me, which is so cool.
What school districts are out there? What's the school district?
Just Lago Vista Independent School District.
Okay.
Yep, 8+ rated.
Okay. Being a broker, that's a hard road. How do you stay focused during the hard times? Especially September, October, December 2022, or in general?
Yeah, so that's something else. So Carl and I work our finances so tightly with our team that if something were to happen in the market, that they can still feel supported and protected. So they walk through just knowing that their next meal doesn't fall on their next sale or something like that. Now, how they manage their own money is something that we help with and talk through and provide investments and opportunities for them as well. But we have a safety net for them, and I think that's huge. But personally, I don't have that safety net. That's been years in the making to get to this point that we can do that support level for them. But I think when things really push comes to shove, because there are times in real estate that you're just so overwhelmed with all the things happening, you cannot anticipate the amount of fires that pop up when they're going to pop up. And it's always at the most inopportune time that they do that. So when I start feeling overwhelmed, of course, I'm a faithful person. I'll call out to Jesus and ask for some help there. But then physically writing down all the tasks that I need to do, because, oh my gosh, at night, it's Palladian theater all over in my head when I'm trying to go to sleep. Oh, I should have said this, or I should have done that. And getting all that out on paper has been huge to me, because now my mind's like, okay, I'm not going to forget about it. I can go read that on my notebook, but I don't have to process it tonight. And so that's been a huge help, is just getting those thoughts out, whether they're super exciting new marketing materials. And that's really 90% of what keeps me up at night. How am I going to market it this way? This is so fun. To like, oh man, that just hurt my heart what that seller did or that. So getting it out and then really just writing down the immediate tasks, then the things that I need to get to the rest of the day and that week. And then it doesn't seem so overwhelming when I can put my eyeballs on it.
So just making sure you're prioritizing your thoughts as well.
Yes.
So how do you guys work together when things are getting difficult? How do you make sure that you're keeping, obviously you play off of each other and you vent to each other, but how do you also make sure it's just Emily and Carl at the end of the day?
Well, we do talk a lot about real estate for sure. When we have some hard things, we understand that when we get hurt by entities, that it's going to take us a little bit to heal, and that we're sympathetic to things like that. When it comes to money situations, we have to remind ourselves where we've been at some point and that we always make it through. And that's why we have done our finances the way that they are and really taken care of ourselves so that we can be ready to go in the future. But just like we were talking about before the podcast started, a lot of times we jump and then put the parachute together on the way down. And when that happens, it can get real, real scary. But we know that what we're doing is not of our own really desire, that we've got someone carrying us through it. So we have a lot of faith there. And I don't know how anyone lives without that. I mean, we can only do so much with our own hands and our own mental capacity. And then sometimes you just have to give it over. But failed in areas, we've grown in areas, and we keep on growing and doing good. So that's what the trajectory is going to be. We've been at lows and we've been at highs, and the trajectory is still going.
Absolutely. It's just kind of like this, right? But that's probably, you're right. It's probably our faith that enables us to just go and then just be like, Jesus, you got it from here. Like, you'll figure it out one way or another,
Yeah. And, a lot of times, there are times, now I wouldn't say a lot of times, where like a house isn't selling. I mean, I just went through this. And if you are a faithful, spiritual person, you can see him working in this. Not in everything. Sometimes we got a hot house and it sells in a minute. I don't even know who the buyer is or whatever. And I do a lot of listings. But this listing has been sitting. And it's the most incredible house, 2.5 million, had 2 full price offers, young guys thinking they need to do the party scene in Austin. And we're about 45 miles away from Austin. So they back out of the contract because they don't want to have to do the traveling for the party. Well, who moves in there? Somebody that this house was made to be for. And it's so evident of how not only the buyer is moving into the house that he needs to be moved into, but how he is using his resources and talents and knowledge to then help the sellers in a super particular way. Like, it is a match made in heaven. There is no doubt. And there are times that we pull our hair out, like, I cannot market this thing anymore. It's the lowest in priced home in Point Venture, which we're dealing with right now. Why won't this thing sell, right? Because somebody might have a plan that we're not privy to at the moment. And so that's so fun to see that happen, to write those down and reminisce on those when times get really hard. Like, see, I couldn't even see that, but look how beautiful it is right now.
Isn't that the truth? That we get stuck in the moment instead of reminding ourselves of the bigger picture that we're not privy to a lot of the times.
Yeah. I mean, Carl does that for me way more than I do for him. It reminds me of this time that I just got into real estate. We used to have in Point Venture these townhomes that were not well taken care of, just kind of yuck, right? Now they are so much better taken care of now. They've started painting and doing a whole renovation thing on them. But he makes so much fun of me. He's like, do you remember when you were jealous of Mervat for having that one townhome on the market for $100,000 and you just had that one dinky lot? Now look at you. And he will bring that up all the time when I get in a rut. And it's just that laughter that he can bring out sometimes. And I think however the spouses communicate, it's not easy. And again, you have to be intentional within the marriage if you're working together to highlight what works. My patience and calmness with Carl when he's going through brain meltdown, I think it's my gift to him, where in turn, when I'm going through a meltdown, his gift to me is remembering how we got through it before, where we are right now. This will pass, right?
Absolutely. Me and Marie always talk about we tag team. We're like, all right, your turn. Like, we got to, when one's like just losing it, the other one comes in. And then when the other one's losing it, the other one comes in. You just have to tag team and take turns. Like, whether it's disciplining children, you're like, I'm going to lose my mind. Okay, I got it. Or it's business, whatever it is. So just having that team mentality. Awesome. If you achieved all of your life goals, what would you do next?
Travel, travel, travel. That's one thing that I've done through my whole life until the children got to a certain age. And we're still traveling with them. We go to Angel Fire, New Mexico all the time. We have a place there. We go up to Missouri to see Carl's family. We just went to Phoenix to see my parents that were visiting out there. So there's no doubt that we travel. But with growing this business, I've had to take a hiatus. And a lot of times my family will go without me. But I promise that 2023, we've gotten the team and our business to a certain point that I can delegate better and then go on these trips. So there's not going to be one family trip, even if I don't want to go on all of them, that I'm not going to go on this year. And I worked very hard to get to this point. So I'm super excited. But then also, I just took a trip with one kid by myself. We're going to Cancun next week with the team. We just came from a really cool beach trip with the team. So even more than just meeting the requirements that I set for myself for the family, look at what else I'm doing right now. And that's really cool because I'm intentional about this one thing, but it opens up all these other opportunities.
I think the key is, guys, remembering that it just didn't happen overnight, that these things have been coming from years and years of seeds that you've planted, right?
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, how fun it would have been that first year of hard work and trying to figure out all this stuff to go to Cancun. Oh no, not all $5,000, no way. And I can't do that all the time for sure, but we are in a very sweet spot, but we've worked super hard for it. You know what you're making me think about? Almost creating like a Instagram channel of like the real world. So you see me like I have a hat on because my hair is messy and I'm not going to see anyone. This is my cleanup off this day. Sorry, but you guys on Instagram that are watching live. So I think to show the behind the scenes, like eating chips on the couch with your feet up, actually working on the computer because that happens, crying in the car because that agent got the best of me, dang it, all these sorts of things, because it's not all roses.
It's not. I think TikTok has enabled it to be a little bit better, but I think Instagram for a long time was like, let's paint this perfect picture, right? And it has to be pristine and everything's amazing. And I actually just posted, and I don't know why I didn't think of this before. I'm not a great storyteller, but we all have a story to tell. But I am very authentic, like sometimes a little too bleh, right? And so I posted all of these ideas on how to tell your story around your business. How did you come from where you were? What was one thing you failed at and how did you turn it around? And I posted all of these ideas using Chat GPT or whatever it was. And I think it's really important that people hear those things, because what they see is just where you are now. First of all, we all still struggle. Just because you're being successful in the moment doesn't mean you don't have bad months, bad days. But I talk about all the time where there was a time, and I think it was like 2010, I can't even remember, but where I was at the grocery store and I was like, I don't know if this debit card's going to go through. Like, we all have times like that where we're struggling and we have to grind and make it happen, but people don't see that, right? All they see is where you are now, and it may seem easy, but they don't see the tears. They don't see you calling to split medical bills when you're younger. They don't see all the hard work and the struggles behind the scenes, right? And so that's why I think it's so important when you partner with someone like Emily or someone who is successful as a mentor, so you realize that it's not a perfect road, and it never will be, no matter where you are in your career, but that it's real and it's raw, but you can do it. You can do it. Anyone can do it if you want it bad enough.
Absolutely. And if you feel like you're not achieving it and you want it bad enough, there are people out wanting to help. So there's no reason why you can't do it.
And this is why I love this podcast. What's been fascinating about it is that it's kind of like video. The reason why I love video marketing is you push away the people immediately who aren't going to be attracted to you. They're going to watch you and they're going to be like, not into it. And that's why I love video. But the podcast has done the same thing. Every single person I've invited has been truly coming from a place of contribution and been a great person. And I think a lot of agents who are top producing agents have this bad rap that they're not approachable or this, that, and the other. And this is why I think it's so important that guys reach out to Emily, ask her questions. Like, she is willing to help, like save time on the mistakes, save time on your journey by finding a mentor so that you don't have to make the same mistakes that Emily made or that I made or that so-and-so made, right? So that your journey can be a little bit easier, a little less
in those areas. Maybe it's harder in other areas, but yeah.
Exactly. No, everyone has their own journey for sure. For sure. But Emily, if people want to get a hold of you, whether it's an agent or a client, what is the best way for people to find you?
Well, I have Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm not doing TikTok, but it's Emily Dieckmann Real Estate. And we work on the north side of Lake Travis. I have a phone number that's easy, 512-645-4000. Yeah, anybody. I would love to help. Even if it's another agent. I just had someone calling, I have to get this sold. What's going on? Can you help me? And she's my competitor, and I'm going to help her because I know what it feels like.
I love it. And that's Dieckmann, just so y'all know, Emily Dieckmann Real Estate Team. So Emily, I can't thank you enough for being here. I hope that y'all enjoyed this, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
We have two very important messages. One, if you're a Texas realtor, go ahead and jump on Facebook and look for the private Facebook group, The Ultimate Agent 2023. A ton of amazing resources there for you. Two, if you have any home loan needs or you just want to show your support, jump on Instagram and follow me at Texas Home Loan Experts. Or you can reach out to us, Lux Mortgage Team, by texting or calling 512-699-5267 or emailing Lux, L-U-X-E, mortgage at efgtx.com. Thank you for listening to the Ultimate Agent Podcast. Your next step as a Texas agent is to join us on Facebook and search The Ultimate Agent 2023. That is our private Facebook group where you'll have more support to take your business to the next level. Once again, this is brought to you by Lux Mortgage Team, where every client and realtor is a VIP.